Welcome to the Kickass Couples Podcast. This is the place where we help committed couples who want to level up their marriage experience newfound clarity, hope, and confidence. We're Matthew and Kim, co-hosts and husband and wife.
In 26 years together, we've seen a lot and never thought it could be as good as it is right now. We're here to help you successfully navigate the messy, dirty, and wonderful world of marriage.
We believe all couples deserve and are capable of experiencing an extraordinary and fulfilling marriage. And each week, we're bringing you life lessons from real-life successful couples to help you grow and strengthen your relationship.
We'll get started right after this message.
If you want to learn how to experience the best, most fulfilling year of your marriage, we invite you to order Matthew's new book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. You can get it at Amazon.com or visit Matthew's website, www.matthewphoffman.com. Again, that's Amazon.com or www.matthewphoffman.com. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Kickass Couples Podcast. In today's episode, we are interviewing the shining duo Marie-Claire and Nick Cates, a dynamic, passion-driven couple who worked their way to becoming two incredibly successful entrepreneurs and one kick-ass couple. As a teenager, Marie-Claire immigrated to the U.S. from Haiti. She's the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar beauty business called Acne Expert Skincare, located in Beverly Hills. She has become a sought-after beauty and lifestyle expert on social media. Her proudest accomplishment was being able to provide her son with the support he needed for stability and life success. Marie has tackled fear and shame firsthand, learning to embrace challenges as stepping stones on the path to an amazing life with her true love, Nick Cates. Nick had a dream of becoming an NBA or NFL star, but his teachers identified and nurtured his unique penchant for writing, where his love for storytelling grew and landed him at BET and PBS, where his TV career started. He has had many successful production roles, from the E-Series Celebrity Homes to developing specials for A&E, Style, Vibe TV, and E! Entertainment. Nick launched the real estate company Showpads and has had a production company called Mindfield Productions. Nick continues to thrive as a realtor, real estate investor, developer, and devoted husband. In today's recap edition episode, Kim and I will share our key takeaways from our interview with this dynamic couple. We'll break down concepts, relationship qualities, and key pillar points that they've used to build their rock-solid relationship that will stand the test of time. Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Couples Podcast. We are thrilled to be with you today for a recap episode with Marie-Claire and Nick Cates. We had an East Coast, West Coast connection going on for this interview and had so much fun with this high energy couple. Kim, weren't they a gas to be with?
They were so dynamic, and just when you say high energy, you nailed it, because they have such positive high energy that really just sets off the tone right when you dive in with them. So I think everyone's going to love this episode. It's incredible. I'm excited to recap it. Matthew, what are some things that stood out to you in this interview?
Well, it was a lot of fun for me because I had high expectations because I got the chance to talk with them briefly before the interview, and I really loved how they started out. I think we always ask people what makes them kick ass, and then we go right into our pillars. I think, Kim, one of my biggest takeaways from this interview with Marie-Claire and Nick was when they were talking about their families of origin. And they talked about how they both received love and saw love demonstrated as they were growing up, and they were radically different. And so it was really kind of cool to see how they came together as a couple. And one of the things that Nick shared is that he grew up in a household with a mother and father, but he said he had additional family members. He had his grandmother and great-grandmother that lived with him for a while, or in the same house and not in the same house and in the same neighborhood. And he used a phrase called layers of love. And I really loved that concept and kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because his mom and dad, he said my dad was the disciplinarian about business, we're preparing you for life, and his mom was more tender, but he said then he had a grandmother and a great-grandmother, so he had two more layers of love. And I think that's a great concept, not just in someone when you've got extended family, right, growing up, but in our own experience, you and I have had some incredible layers of love that have come from your parents as grandparents, and my dad has a second family with two other kids and got remarried, and my mom passed away, but it was so cool to see all the layers of love that have come out in our experience through my sister, through relatives, through neighbors and friends. And there's a lot of people that come in and play those roles and provide that love. So even though with Nick and Marie Claire, they didn't necessarily get the same thing growing up, Nick shared that idea about layers of love. And I think it's important to remember in couples and relationships that you've really got to think about your relationship as not just the two people, but it's all the other people that have an impact and influence, and those layers really build who we are. And that was the case with these two.
Yeah, I love to hear about the generations of love that Nick experienced. And to your point, I think it's amazing when you are able to experience that in your relationship, because not all of us grow up with maybe a parent, right? Maybe one parent is deceased, sadly. And we have so many different dynamics in all of our families that when we are able to get that mothering and that fathering from other influences and other people, it's such a blessing to us. And so I'm sure a lot of our listeners can resonate with the fact that we all experience love and receive love in different ways. And I especially loved hearing about this layer of love concept because I feel like it is something that Nick really benefited from and used in his own relationship with Marie Claire.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun concept. So that was kind of my first big takeaway that came out of our time with this couple.
Yeah.
How about you? What was one thing that you came away with?
I really appreciate the way Marie Claire and Nick communicate with each other. I think they have a fabulous appreciation of each other. And that was a really big theme throughout the entire interview, was how much they appreciate each other. And I think that when they know what each other's love languages are, and Marie Claire said, when I speak, he listens, and vice versa. And I think so many of us get caught in halfway listening, or, it's maybe just kind of, I'm over here working on something else and yeah, I got you. But she said, I know that when I speak, he's always listening. And that really resonated with me because communication is a huge pillar that we talk about. And when a spouse is trying to get the other's attention or trying to communicate with them, it's so important that we practice active listening. And I think they do that.
Yeah, they do. And so communication was important to Nick as well. And he used the example that when they first got together and before they led up to marriage, he said Marie Claire had a bad habit, of talking over him and finishing his sentences and trying to anticipate where he was going in the situation instead of giving him the room and giving him the space to share. And she was really open for that influence, which we know is really important in any relationship, to be open to that. And she listened to what he had to say and she goes, oh my gosh, I realized not only was I in my communication with him, but I was doing it with my family, I'm doing it with the people I work with. Yeah. And she goes, big life lesson takeaway to listen, to learn and understand, right? Mm-hmm. Not listening to speak. Yeah. And I think that's so huge about communication is really, what's your motive? Is your motive to understand and seek to understand how your spouse is feeling and what they want to relay and give to you in the relationship? Or are you just trying to blow through what they have to say to get to your turn to speak? And it's a very distinct difference in your communication style.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from that communication skill is that, she was always trying to finish everyone's story. And I thought, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. It's a bad habit to be in, because it's really hard to stop doing when you find yourself over and over again trying to finish everyone's stories or speak over someone. So I appreciated her bringing that to the forefront in this interview.
Yeah, I loved kind of another takeaway from me when we were talking about commitment, and they both openly said, hey, we were in previous relationships and they didn't go well, and they both had kind of a bad taste in their mouth. So Nick was sharing the story that when they came back together, they were kind of coming from different places. Originally, relative to commitment, Marie Claire said, you know what? Happy to be in a committed relationship. Doesn't need to be marriage for me to be happy. Didn't have a great experience before. I don't want to set up for that again. And Nick said, I got a very different opinion. He goes, I am dating to find my life partner and somebody that I can take responsibility for and commit to. And she had to step back and go, whoa, I think that kind of gave her chills and hit her a little bit differently. And I love the idea. He said, I wanted to make sure that I was staking a claim on the person that I love and going all in. So he's like, man, I put a stake in the ground. She's mine. I'm committed to her, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And what was so cool is that his step in making that claim and taking that commitment allowed her to see what he was doing, and she changed her mind and became to understand how important it was for her to make the same claim. All in, all for one. And I loved that, again, she's open for influence, and that kind of formed the success that they share today. When it comes to creating a kick-ass marriage, do you ever wonder what you could be doing better? Have you ever thought how helpful it would be to be a part of a like-minded community of other imperfect couples who want to level up in their number one relationship? Come visit Kickass Couples Nation, where you can talk with people just like you who are looking for ways to invest in and increase their joy, commitment, and fulfillment in their most important human relationship. You'll have access to a team of licensed marriage therapists, coaches, articles, podcasts, live webinars, and more. Just visit MatthewPHoffman.com so you can learn more about a community that's ready to help you level up. That's MatthewPHoffman.com so you can become of the growing Kick-Ass Couples Nation right now.
And I think what you just said about being open for influence, it's the mark we all miss, right? Where we all of a sudden, we feel like we're being come at and we shut down, and we're not really ready to listen, and we're not really ready to hear maybe something that we need to hear about ourselves in a very loving way, of course. And one of the examples that they gave about being open to influence and about conflict resolution was superb. And that was, you'll have to listen to it in the interview, of course, but that was just a small example about the way that she had been responding to him when he's just trying to look for something, right? So maybe she's organized and he's not so organized, and he's trying to look for something, he can't find it. And, she's kind of saying, well, it's over here, like where it always is, just sort of that
scolding him almost, or giving him a little grief for needing help.
And then there's that undertone of, oh my gosh, here we go again, right? And he said, stop. I want to be able to ask you for help. And I want to be able to be in a safe place to ask you for help and not feel poorly about it or embarrassed about it or like I've done something wrong. And
or you're being put out by your partner because they have to help you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he said, I want to be able to come to you for help. And she said, oh my gosh, I had to take a step back, because she was like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want you to feel that way. I don't ever want you to think that you can't come to me for help. And so that was an aha moment, I think, for her. But what I really loved in this interview is that they kept giving example after example that we can just sort of take away from their experiences and learn from.
And I think there's two other ideas, kind of, Kim. A lot of you have heard the expression "nip it in the bud," right? And that means that a problem that Kim's talking about, if you listen to the whole interview, was right before a date they were going on, and they stopped and they said, "We're going to handle this now." And in my book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex, there's a chapter that's entitled Nip It in the Bud. And if you think about, being a gardener and a planter, it's a great analogy. By the way, for a relationship, you want to be the gardener of your partner's soul and care and feeding and do all the things so that they can thrive and grow. But nipping something in the bud means you're cutting off the early or the dead growth so the rest of the flower or plant can thrive and do well. So nipping in the bud is a gardening term, and we're talking about conflict resolution. It means you're handling things when they happen and not letting them grow or fester. Because A, they're easier to do. It might be an inconvenience, right? Oh, I'm busy, work, kids. You say, gosh, let's just slow down and take the time. But slowing that down and taking that time and handling the issues keeps them from festering, turning into something that they weren't originally, right, when it occurred, and it gets it off the plate. And it means you both can have resolution and clarity about it and move forward as you've sought to get that understanding. So I think that's another layer in there, and it's a great story of Anne-Marie taking influence, accepting influence from Nick in that situation. And I thought it was great.
Being willing to do that is huge. I also love about this couple, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but appreciation. That is one of their favorite pillars. It's both of their favorite pillars. And they just have so much love, appreciation, and respect for each other. And that, above all else, is what flows into their relationship, out of their relationship, into their families and into their businesses. And they're both just happy people who say that, we want to keep it light. We want to keep it easy. We want it to be fun. This is what's most important to us. And so we try not to ever take anything too seriously and be too uptight or worked up about things. And I love that. That takes a lot of daily work, I think, because it's really easy to get caught up in your day and in your work and your business. And, she is running 3 businesses. He has a multitude of businesses. He's an entrepreneur as well. And they just, they're in their own little vortexes outside of their relationship. Right. And then coming together, but with such love, appreciation, ease, and fun.
And I think what's so neat is that, everybody likes to feel or express appreciation differently. And there's kind of 2 sides of appreciation in a relationship. It's important for me to know how Kim likes to be appreciated. I know her love languages. I know how she receives things. It doesn't mean she doesn't like all the styles, but there's some that if, for example, she came home from a trip just the other day, and I know that's important for her to feel that her space is clean and organized. Because if her space that she's in, her home, her office, the car, is not clean and organized, she doesn't feel settled. And so she's willing to do the work no matter how tired she may be to get it that way. So I said, you know what? When she comes home after 4 days of being with our college-age son, a lot of late nights, trying to keep up with a 22-year-old, she's going to be ready just to relax and let down. So I made sure the house was clean, organized, everything was in a place, fresh flowers, a meal was ready, because I wanted to come into the environment and be relaxed, okay? It's important to her, and so I took the time to do that because I know it's one of her needs. It's not right for me to go, oh, why does she need that? She needs to get over it. She's got to be happy no matter where she is, right? That would not be me appreciating my spouse, because it's what she likes and what she's important. And that's one kind of appreciation. Another kind of appreciation is your partner letting you express yourself the way you like to express yourself. Mm-hmm. It's not always about you. So if I'm a crazy, silly guy and I like to crank the music, I do almost everything to music, and I love to cook to it, clean to it, exercise.
Everything to music.
I love it. And it's all different kind of
Shower
music, right?
To it.
Shower to it.
It's always music.
Gotta be loud enough to hear over the shower. So she knows that about me, and that's a way of my expression, in a way that she can show appreciation for me by enabling me to get something that's important to me. So it's about letting others express who they are truly, and also knowing how people like to be appreciated and working to give them what they want, not what you want to give them.
Absolutely.
So anything else that you came away with that we want to share with our listeners before we close up here?
I think that they realize and recognize the value that each of them bring to each other's lives. and they are continuing to grow and to learn and to be open. And I think that that's one of the things that I really loved and appreciated about this couple in particularly, is that they are, a work in progress, and they admit that, and they're willing and open to really, like you said, the influence, to growing together, to learning together, and loving each other just, completely. So
yeah, I love that. And I think kind of a great closing thought, maybe put a nice bookend on this, is Nick talked about, he said the work is never going to be done. There's always more to do, just like the inbox, the emails, the texts, the calls. There are always going to be something to do. He goes, you got to fall in love with the process, because there's always things to do, because you always have to strive to get better. You're not going to reach a pinnacle or mountaintop and stop because you're good enough. So relax and understand that there's nothing too serious going on here.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And man, they do, and they did. And you got to listen to the whole interview with this couple. They were just so full of love and joy and gratitude and appreciation. You can't help but feel good when you listen to the two of these talk.
I want to meet them and hang out with them.
They're yet another couple we're adding to the list.
I know.
Anne Marie and Nick, if you're listening, we want to, Marie Claire and Nick, we're going to come hang out with you guys in LA, and we got a lot of friends we're building on the West Coast. So go back and listen to the whole interview. You'll get some great stuff, a very mature outlook. I think they've only been together, this is their second marriage, so they didn't start together, but man, they are finishing strong, and a lot of great examples, a very mature and great deep dive into what's truly important about a relationship. So we hope you'll listen to the whole episode. If you like it, give us a rating and a like wherever you listen to your podcasts, and send a screenshot to info@kickasscouplespodcast.com, and we've got something for you if you leave us a review on any of our platforms.
And remember, happily ever after doesn't just happen. It's on purpose.
That's all we've got for this episode of the Kickass Couples Podcast. If you like the content of this show, you'll love Matthew's newly released book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. To receive a digital mini book of quotes and images from the book, all you have to do is rate this show and leave a review in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Then email us a screenshot of your review at podcast@kickasscouplespodcast.com, and we'll get it over to you right away. Until next time, remember, happily ever after doesn't just happen, it's on purpose.